Hello all, it's August 23rd, 2024. I'm still doing the austere August challenge. Today was the first day I decided to do a 3-pass shave. Not because my shaves were getting lacking closeness, but because I wanted to try something new. And the shave was phenomenal. The first full-on DS-BBS shave that I've had in a long time, and now I'm worried that 24 hours from now I won't have enough beard to shave, but that's a good problem to have. Anyway, today I thought I would try to take this knife, which is the knife I used, the Chicago Cutlery 8-inch knife that I used for the knife sharpening tutorial. I thought I would take this knife and try to thin it behind the edge, show you what thinning behind the edge looks like. And I don't think I'll do much thinning behind the edge of this knife. The knife itself is, let's see if we can see that. You can sort of see the width of the blade here. Let's see if I can, yeah, there you go. You can see the width of the blade here. It's a fairly thin knife, as you know, knives of the American knives of the 60s and 70s. This would have been thin for that style of knife. But if I take a piece of phone book paper, which is very thin, and I try to push cut this across the grain, I don't get much. Whereas if I grab, hang on. If I grab a very thin, let's see here. Try to position this in a way that, there you go. So you can see how thin this is. Once I turn it directly into the camera, it vanishes. So this is a very thin, asymmetrically ground Japanese knife, and as you can see, it just has no trouble push cutting across the grain through phone book paper. So the challenge today is to see how close can I get this knife in cutting performance to this one through the art of thinning behind the edge. So what's the goal? Thinning behind the edge is literally is used for two purposes. The first purpose is to restore the knife to its original sharpening geometry. And that's very similar to what we do with a razor when we don't use tape. When a knife comes directly from the maker, the sharpening geometry is set, and when we use that, we find the bevel. When we teach beginners, we tell them find the bevel on the stone. Hang on, I'll get a stone. So we tell them find the bevel on the stone, and then lock in on that, and then sharpen using that bevel, using that angle. Now, if you do that for many sharpenings, what happens is that you're simply the knife gets shorter every time you sharpen it because you're removing material. And if you're riding this bevel angle, that angle gets steeper and smaller. So the sharpening angle actually changes because you're riding this bevel angle, but the overall width of the blade is getting smaller. So thinning behind the edge. The first purpose of thinning behind the edge is to counteract that problem. Is to move the knee of the bevel back up the blade so that you can restore that shallower bevel angle and sharpening angle. The second way you use this is to actually do what I'm about to do, which is to is to make that bevel angle thinner by simply removing material behind this knee. And so when you do that, when you make the material thinner, it can travel through. When you make the bevel thinner, it can travel through material more easily. You can prove this to yourself with cutting something like a cucumber with a very thin knife and a very thick knife. For any of you who do a lot of cooking, I think that's probably already obvious. Anyway, so I'm going to start today. Instead of my Shapton glass stones, I'm going to use my Matakusayama stones. These are synthetic stones that I bought from Japanese Natural Stones in Denmark. Maxim in Denmark sells these as his line of synthetic stones. And I don't know, I bought these a while back, 6-7 years ago, I think. They're pretty phenomenal stones. This is the 300, and it might be the standout stone of the bunch. It's just an amazing 300 grit stone. And I know all of you razor people are thinking, oh my God, 300 grit stones. But for knife sharpening, we often start there we often start around 300 grit to do a lot of our initial shaping. Okay, I'm going to pause. I need to go get my Atoma 140 flattening plate, and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. This is the Atoma 140. It's 140 grit flattening stone that is really a better fit for knife sharpening than the Shapton glass diamond lapping plate that you've seen me use for razors. So anyway, I'm going to get going. The trick for this is to kind of find that bevel angle on the knife, and then sort of let's see if I can. I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but basically, instead of riding on the bevel, what I'm going to be doing is pushing on this knee as I go back and forth on the stone. I'll be pushing on this knee to move it up just a little bit. And so given that I've got no planning on this video, I can't think of a way offhand to really show you this. I don't think I could take a magic marker and draw it. I mean a Sharpie and draw it fine enough to show you removing Sharpie above this knee. So I've done a lot of this. Almost every knife I sharpen that is in good shape when it comes to me, and there aren't a lot actually. But most of the knives that come to me that are in good shape, because they've they've had some wear, then what I do is I move the knee of that bevel up on the blade to try to maintain a good sharpening angle for that knife. And I have been doing a fair amount of knives this month, and I've been using these stones for that as a nice change of pace. And it's been nice. I'm using. I'll talk in a minute. Most of the time, I don't get to. I'll tell you what I'm doing in a minute. But most of the time, I don't get to do this. Most of the time, knives that come to me, I feel like somebody tied them behind a car and dragged them. So most of the time, what I'm doing is repairing a knife, establishing a new bevel, using my idea of what the bevel should be, and then and then just sharpening on that bevel. But as I said before, if a knife, like the ones that I've done this month are ones that I see regularly, and they get used heavily, but they're not terribly beat up. So I've been doing a lot of this, and I thought I might let you in on some of it. Now, I'm also going to show you how I sharpen a knife instead of what I showed you in the knife tutorial. The only difference, really, the concepts are the same, but the difference is that I flip the knife. I also don't I don't necessarily. I do a lot of this. I do a lot of checking of the edge for burr, but the way I do it, the way I taught it was to raise a burr and then flip the knife. What I do is I kind of work both sides, feeling for tiny burr, because I've done enough of this that I can feel when a tiny burr is emerging. And so when I feel a tiny, I just work both sides until I feel a tiny burr. Then I flip the burr to make sure that I'm getting equal work on each side, and then I'm done. I'm done with the knife on that stone. Now, if I was, let me check here. Okay, so we're definitely, I'm not getting any kind of a burr activity, and the knife is reasonably sharp, but not very. So that tells me so I've been working the knife, and so what that tells me is that I'm not hitting the apex, which is what I want. I want to be moving back and forth, but I want to actually be off the apex. And what I'll be doing for the thinning, is simply driving that bevel down to the point at which an apex forms. And at which point I have a fully defined new bevel. In terms of mechanics, same mechanics as I have when I did the knife sharpening tutorial. I have a stone at a height that allows my elbow to be slightly above the stone, and allows my my movement it allows me to lock in my wrist and my elbow, and simply do most of my movement from the shoulder, which gives, first of all, doesn't require any strain on the back or anything. I just stand here and move back and forth. This ability to simply find an angle, and you can see I'm not on the angle, I'm off. I mean, I'm not on the edge, I'm off a little bit. Yeah, so it allows me to hold whatever angle I create, or select, I guess. might be a better term. So this is what I'm going to do for a little while. When you're doing this, it can take a while. I'm probably going to take this further than I need to. Hang on, let's take a look. Yeah, I'm starting to feel a little micro bevel here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to continue working this, yeah, I'm definitely feeling a little micro bevel there. I'm going to continue working this on both sides, doing what you saw me do, and I'm going to come back when I've actually done the thinning and when I'm starting to get an edge on this 300 grit stone. All right, I'm back. It's actually 2 days later, so it's Sunday, August 25th. I had to stop. I got pulled away. But before I did, I finished up on the Matakusuyama 300 here. I finished up on this stone. Shortly after I stopped the video. I stopped the video as I was just beginning to raise a burr on each side. And I thought that it would take a while before I really got finished with that, and it did, but not too much longer. Anyway, so here you can sort of see I have a nice even sort of frosty looking bevel along the whole edge here, and I have that on both sides. But remember, this is a used knife, and so it's got some of the wear you see is simply because it's used before I got it. Anyway, the key thing here is the bevel. So I found it difficult. I raised a burr, and it was actually a small burr, but still difficult to remove, which tells me this steel is tough, not particularly hard, but tough, meaning hard to break. And so that can be problematic for sharpening, but I did remove that burr. So the one thing I didn't do, which I'll bring you in on, is to test. So I might be going back to that 300 if this test fails. The goal with this test is this is the way on a sheet of phone book paper, this is the way the grain goes. Cross grain is like this. It's easier to cut in this direction than this. Coming off a 300 grit stone, I'm not expecting to push cut across the grain, but it should dig in at the heel here, and then slice evenly through the phone book paper. So this is our test. And we stopped there. I think I'll try again. There we go. So we have the phone book paper test working for us. You can see nice clean cuts, and that's off a 300 grit stone. And what that tells us, it's less about the fact that what the cutting tells us is that we have even sharpness, or even enough sharpness across the whole edge. That's why we want to slice. I want to make sure that it isn't stopping somewhere along the cut. It's not going to be a great cut because again it's a 300 grit stone. And so now instead of creating a new wider bevel, which is what I did on the 300 grit stone, now it's just a typical type of sharpening that I showed in the knife sharpening tutorial. Now it's finding the bevel angle and riding that bevel angle in order to refine the edge at the apex. Refine meaning narrow. As that edge gets narrower, the knife gets sharper, keener. So the next stone we're going to is the Matakusioma 800. This is a soaking stone. Actually, most of the stones in this line are soakers. He claims that the next stone I'm going to use is Splash and Go, but I found that it works better. It works better with a little bit of soak time. If you have soaking stones or you're buying stones that require soaking, the easy rule of thumb is for how long to leave them in is leave them in until the bubbles stop. That way you don't have to time it. All right, so let's get going. Now, as I said, it's an easier job. I'm just finding the bevel and then following the bevel. Riding that bevel, getting locked in. Getting locked into the geometry, the new geometry of the knife, and riding it. Going back to what I said in the tutorial, once I'm locked in on this angle, I move pressure across the blade. I move pressure across the blade with my other hand. Now, the way I taught this was one-handed, dominant hand. This direction with, in my case, the right hand, and then this direction to get to the other side. I sharpen with both hands. But it's the same principle. So find the angle, find the new angle, and move pressure now with my right hand, which is on the blade. I simply move pressure up the blade and then back down to make sure that I can feel that I'm really on that bevel. And really, that's really all there is to it. It requires practice. Learning to hold your angle is not something you're going to get right away, especially because everything is changing. Right? It's not a piece. It's not a square piece that's evenly wide. It's got an unusual shape. So you sort of have to figure out how to draw this line, which is the bevel. You have to learn how to draw that line using the technique that I showed, and that takes a little doing. So I've definitely got a bevel going. I'm going to take two quick passes here, and then I'm going to have to go through the whole debugging exercise. With this type of steel is a little unfortunate. I'm passing this knife on to a friend, and it's a little unfortunate because when the steel is tough like this, it's hard to know if you're getting it sharp because it's so difficult to deburr. Definitely needs more water. So you can see these soakers. Part of the reason to have some slurry on them is to have to keep some of the moisture on the surface. Okay, so this is our our pass on this side. All right, let's see if I can do any cutting of that bevel. No, it's really difficult. I can feel that burr. I keep saying bevel, but I mean burr. Okay, so this is how you take, these are stropping strokes. I showed them in the tutorial. And this is how you cut a burr off of an edge. Hopefully hopefully we're reasonably close. Nope. What's difficult when you have a burr that is stubborn like this is that impatience will often stop you before you've actually removed the burr and exposed the sharp edge underneath. That's again one of those. So this is feeling pretty good. There's a tiny bit of burr I'm feeling right there, but this is only the 800 grit stone. So this edge feels great. This edge feels good except for right up here. So let's see if that got it. And so yeah, this video might be a deburring video. Okay, so that's feeling good. Let's feel the edge. Not feeling that sharp, to be honest with you. I'm going to test it and see how it tests. But this is again the 800. I may spend some more time on the 800 if I don't like the way this tests. Let's get another piece of phone book paper. And let's see how we go here. Yeah, only okay. I kind of would like to see that. Well, as you can see, I mean it's cutting better than it did better than it did off the 300, which it should. So I can always go back to this 800. It's going to have to improve quite a bit on the next stone, so we're gonna try that. I'm gonna pause. I'll be cleaning up this stone and then, yeah, I'll clean up this stone and then bring out the next one. So I'm gonna pause. Okay, this is the Matakusuyama Red Aoto. This is the reason actually that I bought this set. This stone is a mixture of very high quality 2 and 4K abrasive, some of which is supposedly from natural stones and then sized somehow. Anyway, I don't know about the latter part of what I just said, but Anyway, I was sold. Moxham is a, he's a reputable guy. So I thought, well, let's try this. So we're coming off the 800. We're going on to the red Aoto, and based on what I saw in the 800, I don't have high hopes. But anyway, let's get going. Find the correct bevel angle, and then dig in. I did flatten this stone and wet it down before starting here. This is a stone that you should not have to soak, according to what I remember about it, but I've always found that a little bit of a soak helps it. Okay, let's go to the other side. Keep wetness going. Find the bevel. A big part of finding the bevel is making sure that you're not off the stone. That you're not only have you found the bevel in this direction, you have appropriate pressure across the stone. To follow the bevel line, as you get to a curved section, you have to raise your elbow and then bring it back to the standard position that you start with. So I'll do that again. So I'm still following the bevel. My elbow is coming up so that I can follow this curve. Coming down, I'm still in a shallow curve, and now the knife's bevel is entirely on the stone from heel to about the middle of the knife. Okay, let's see where we are burr-wise. Got a burr up in here. Tiny burr, which is what we would like to see, and no burr here. So that's kind of what we want to see. Let's go back here. I'm now I don't, as with razors, I let the abrasive do the work. So I do use, I am using pressure, but I'm being very directed with that pressure. So you can't really see it because I'm doing sort of pinpoint pressure as I move along the blade. But I am pressing down. We need to do some on the other side. Wonderful feel to this stone, which is really part of the joy of sharpening. Sharpening is, I'm not very unaccustomed and very uncomfortable to talking while I'm doing this. Normally this is kind of a Zen experience for me, and it's a much nicer experience nowadays that I don't have, I don't have to do, 40 knives a week or something, which, remember now, this was a part-time thing for me. I never did this full-time. I fell into doing this. It sort of got out of hand, and then I finally sort of backed out, and now only do this for a select few. Oh, including myself, of course. Okay. think hopefully we've overdone this. Let's start making some cleanup passes. This is all I'm doing is following the bevel. Now I'm doing some fairly low stropping strokes. See if we can see where we are. So in theory, be very careful on the angle here. All right, let's see where we are. Not bad, not bad. I'm definitely feeling a little burr there. I'm feeling a little burr on this side, so let's try to take that off. This may be one of those steels where I have to do a micro bevel, just simply to get an edge on it, because this steel is not liking being drawn out even this much. I drew it out for the sharpening tutorial. I drew out the bevel. I mean, when this came to me, it had a wire thin bevel on it, and I drew that out a little bit for the knife sharpening tutorial. All right, let's test this. All right, well, definitely getting sharper. I'm not sure this is ever going to push cut. As you can see, that's going through more easily, making a little less noise. It's not super duper, but you know, that's the improvement that I'm going to be able to get on these stones with this knife. And so, you know, I have to live with whatever limitations I have. There's no turning this into the Japanese knife that I have over here on my wall. Okay, I'm going to. So normally I would stop here, and this is absolutely as far as you would ever take this style of knife, and this caliber of knife. I'm going to do a little polishing, I think, on a 6K, just for grins, just to see. So I'm going to clean this up, bring the 6K over, and then I'll be back. Okay, this is the Suhiro Syrax 6K. It's a splash and go stone. I dunk it in water for 5 minutes or so because it's like the others. It's splash and go, except that water runs through it. Let's do a little final polishing on this stone, just for grins, just to see if I can get a little bit more out of the steel. I kind of would be surprised if I do. Oh, well, this will be, I can show you something with this stone. I kind of forgot about this. So, as you can see, the stone is loading up pretty quickly. Loading up meaning swarf is going into the stone. But I have a little bit of slurry on here, and that slurry with water, will become a stone cleaner. You'll see that in a little bit. Let's not take our eye off the ball here, because this is the goal here is just to do a little bit of polishing, and we don't want to lose form. There you go. You can see how it starts to clean up with keeping the slurry there and just getting the water level up. It is really surprising to me how much more difficult this is for me to do smoothly and evenly if I talk. That's years and years of doing it one way. Now I'm trying to learn to do it another way. Because so 6K for a kitchen knife is pretty refined. It's quite normal to go this way with a high quality Japanese kitchen knife, especially a carbon steel one. I often go to 8K with some of those knives. But your typical kitchen knife, and this is like an $8 knife on eBay. This is way too far. So it'll be interesting to see if the steel will hold this edge. I think it will, there's a burr there. I think it will, I think because of the toughness of the steel, I think this edge will just bend around. I don't think it'll hold its position too well. That's part of what toughness is. Toughness has to do with resistance to breakage. And so the way that happens is that it bends well. It bends a lot. It stays in the plastic phase a long time. Okay, how are we doing here? Yeah, not super terrible. I can definitely feel I can feel some burr, but let's wrap this up. I'm sure you're tired of listening to me, and I'm kind of, today's the 25th. The Hungarian Grand Prix has already happened, and I want to go downstairs, have a beer, have a cigar, and stream the replay of that, because I'm a Formula One fan since the 1960s. So, long time Formula One fan. Which I know is a little surprising, me being an American, but I learned a long time ago that you don't have to drive in circles. Okay, let's see where we are. Tiny bit of burr. Tiny bit of burr, but not terrible. Definitely no burr here. Yeah, tiny bit right there. I've been having, I think there might be a tiny unseeable dip there. The scratch pattern, which I do check. Again, same thing with razors. I check for evenness of scratch pattern. And scratch pattern's looking really, really good on both sides. But I think there might be a tiny dip here in the tiny dip in the profile that keeps, no, I got it now. Now, did I flip something? No, I did not. All right, so I'm going to clean up once again, bring out the strop just for a couple of final passes, and we'll do a final test. Okay, be right back. Okay, I completely cleaned everything up, so everything is dried and ready for me to just pick it up, put it back. So the last thing to do is to strop this knife. I have a horsehide strop, a really old horsehide strop, loaded with some sort of abrasive. I think this is, I think it's like 1 or 2 micron CBN. I don't know whether it's a spray or a paste, but as you can tell from the beauty of this strop, it wouldn't hurt to maybe clean it and recondition it. It's seen its days, that's for sure, but it still works. I've used it obviously a lot. So let's do some final stropping. A lot of beginning sharpeners come to a strop with a dull knife, and then strop like crazy and find that they have a sharper knife, and that's very common. And the reason that happens is you didn't come off the stones sharp. In particular, you didn't come off the first stone you started with sharp. This is a common thing. I did it too when I first started doing this. I thought the miracle of stropping was incredible. But you get much better results if you come off the stones sharp. So I'm almost done stropping. There would be no way I would get this knife sharp by doing what I'm doing here. Very light, doing what I did before, just following the bevel. And all this is doing is removing tiny little microscopic pieces of burr through abrasion. All right, so it's time for our final test. Let's see if this knife can push cut. This might be me holding your attention all this time only to fail in an epic way, but let's just see. Okay, so here we are. Let's do the main test, and that's good. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so can we push cut? Yeah, try to get that underneath you. No. Well, yeah, there we go. It took a little bit of doing. Takes a little bit to get this started, so it's not super duper, but better than it was. Let's for comparison purposes. Sorry, I'm away from the microphone here. Hang on. For comparison purposes, let's move from the ridiculous to the sublime, and let's just let you watch what this should have looked like. That's sharp. This is really sharp. These marks, by the way, this is a flat, and you know, you sharpen this by sharpening this bevel and then taking off the burr, laying this flat. So you know, it gets marked up, but that's okay. This can be polished, but you know, I use these knives. So. And this isn't, by the way, I haven't just sharpened this knife. This is literally just coming off the rack. So you can really see the difference between quality and and lesser quality. Nonetheless, this knife is going to perform. I mean, this is like an amazing knife. This is going to perform super well, and would be perfect for the majority of kitchen duties. And as knives go, it's very sharp. Anyway, I hope this was of some use to you. I will be talking, the whole purpose of doing this had to do with showing some advantage coming from a thinner profile, a thinner bevel profile. And I'll be talking a lot more about that as we move back to razors. Hang on, I'll get some razors and show you what's coming. Okay, here you go. This is what's coming up. I have two 5/8 union razors, both hollow ground and round point. Then I have this exquisite gold dollar, which is new, but which does not have the shoulder. So we'll see what's involved in trying to fix this. I'm sure it's going to need fixing. That's why I bought it, and get it to be serviceable. Finally, the star of the show is this Kikubuchi R Seto knife, which I'm really happy to have found, and we'll be showing you a proper curved blade honing video with. All right, thanks for sticking around. As always, I really appreciate the time you spend watching my videos and listening to my rambling, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.